Hello, 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 everybody. Thank you guys so much for joining us for another week's episode of HeatPressNation Live. If this is your first time with us, welcome. Thanks so much for coming out, or I say coming out like I feel like I'm at a comedy club. Like you guys, oh, thanks for coming out, guys. No, thanks for tuning in. Whether you're tuning in from your house, living room, bathroom, car ride, wherever you're at, we appreciate you guys for joining us. My name is Jared. And it's a pleasure for me to be with you here. If you're new to HeatPressNation or this weekly series that we do, what I do is I'll give like some tutorials on how to use we have lots of great products here at HeatPressNation, and I give tutorials on how to use a lot of them. So that way you can heat press like a pro. Really quick, do want to give a shout out to our Facebook group. HeatPressNation Creators Group on Facebook. If you want to go there, if you want the fast track, right, it's right there on your screen. Heat.press/FB group. You see it right there on your screen. Just type that in to your URL and that'll take you straight to it. Heat.press/FB group. That's going to get you to our Facebook group. We have lots of great information, lots of great folks in there, and it's a great place to, even if you just kind of want to show off your work to people who appreciate it. Sometimes I'll make like a t-shirt or a coffee mug and like I'll show it and like, oh, that's cool. And I'm like, no, do you know how hard this was to do? But if you show it in the HPN Creators group, we all kind of appreciate, the hard work that goes into it. Another thing that you can do is you can use the hashtag or just even check it out. Hashtag HPN Creators right there. If you're on Instagram or Twitter or even Facebook, check out that hashtag HPN Creators. So much cool stuff is going on there. HPN Creators, that's the hashtag. Use it whenever you're posting stuff. That way everybody could see just how cool your products or your projects are. All right, so real quick, just gonna check in. Everybody's saying hi. Thank you so much. Dina Barbosa, the queen. Thank you so much for joining us today. Give us a shout out. Do me a favor, give us a shout out where you're tuning in from. I know every now and then we'll get some international friends coming. We got lots of people out of state. I'm here in California where we're on fire. So yeah, say a prayer for us out here. Crazy times. The other day I felt like I was on Blade Runner. All the skies were orange and red and it was really nasty. So yeah, we got out of town just so we could breathe some fresh air. Anyways, that's everybody on Facebook. Real quick, I'm gonna check in on our pals on the tube, on YouTube. We got viewers right now. By the way, we are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. So give me a second here. I'm just gonna double check the comments here and see what everybody's up to right now. Oh, there we go. We got lots of people tuning in on the tube. We got Great Falls, MT, I'm assuming is Montana. Sorry if I got that one wrong. Good morning. She hasn't used, Jared saying, sorry, he has both, but he hasn't used either yet. Can't wait to understand which one to use. And we got lots of great people coming out. We got George, the not so rich and famous Lopez coming at me from Santa Ana. Very, very cool, very cool. Awesome. Yeah, we got lots of people tuning in. Sorry. Just lots of comments coming in. Just filter. We got Michigan, U.S. Virgin Islands, Wisconsin, South Carolina, Portland, Oregon, Milford, Ohio, Long Island, New York. Man, everybody's tuning in from everywhere. It's so great to see. All right, well, I'm just going to cut right to it. Today's episode of HeatPressNation Live, what we're doing is we're talking about, and I'm just going to put this to the side for a second. I got all your comments and questions coming in on that iPad, so if you have a question, if there's something you need me to clarify, please feel free. Drop a question, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. And even if you're not watching live, maybe this is a replay, maybe you're watching the replay, feel free to drop a comment. We'll be sure to get to it as soon as possible. But today we're talking about pressing pads and pressing pillows. So these are the Soft Fusion pressing pillows available. And of course, these are both available at heatpressnation.com. Be sure to check that out. And then I have my trusty T-Pad-It is what these are called. These are pressing pads. And so today we're going to talk about what is the difference. Now, these both work to achieve the same goal, but they just do it in kind of different ways. And to help me express that, I have a polo t-shirt, a polo style t-shirt And so here's what happens. If you've ever pressed a polo shirt, and I'm gonna bump on over to camera 2 here. We got it. This is a gigantic polo, by the way, because it's mine. So really quick, we're gonna go on over to camera 2 so you guys can see here. Alrighty. So you see here, we have some issues when heat pressing. We have some buttons right here. We have this thick kind of seam right here. We have a collar right here, right? Now what happens oftentimes is you'll get requests. People are gonna want a logo right here. Right here in this area. And I'm gonna scoot it down just so you guys can see it just a little bit better. With chest logos on polos, they're often gonna go right around here. And that's a big problem because we have these thick items. Now you might say, oh, a collar, it's not that thick. It's not even a 1/4 inch thick, or maybe it's a 1/4 inch thick. It's not that thick. Well, heat transfer vinyl is only a couple microns thick. I think it's about 30 or 40 microns thick. So even though this is not really thick, it's a heck of a lot thicker than your heat transfer vinyl. Ooh, and I forgot to weed out my square. Give me just a second here. There we go. Just gonna peel that off so we can see it better. So let's say I had an order. Just gonna pull this off here. There we go. Let's just say I had an order to put a bunch of these logos on some crew t-shirts or some crew polos for, in this situation, it's a touring boat. We have the SS Minnow, and I'm making a skipper t-shirt. And if you get that reference, congrats on being old. Okay. So we have the SS Minnow right here. Usually it's gonna go right around here. And so you can see the placement. It's gonna go right about there. That's not 100% precise, but just for the sake of this demonstration, that's where I'm gonna put it. Now here's the issue. Because this vinyl is so thin, if I were to lower the heat press onto here, these buttons and this thick seam, as well as this collar, would block this area from getting heat pressed. And to kind of give you a better idea of what I mean, if we were to like magically zoom in, this area would be raised up here and the vinyl is low down here. So when the heat press comes down, it's gonna hit the higher area first and it's not gonna make proper contact with this lower kind of depressed area. It's gonna mostly hit these raised areas. And that's a problem. This could lead to peeling. You know, if I were to heat press it just like this, the heat press is mostly gonna hit this section right here, all the thick stuff. It's not really gonna make proper contact with the thin stuff. And so to do that, there's 2 ways to go to remedy this. And I'm gonna open up this top button here. Now what a T-pad does is a T-pad raises this area so that way it is higher than these areas. So if I were to put a T-pad in here, like so, right about, yep, perfect. The T-pad is right here. Now this T-pad is not the thickest thing. I believe it's about a 1/4, maybe a 1/3 inch thick. Now this T-pad, it's raising the area. So now when the heat press comes down, it's only gonna hit this area and it's not gonna touch this. This is also helpful because these buttons, I think they're okay going under a heat press. But the other day I was pressing a baby onesie and the little clasp tabs or whatever, whatever, I'm not sure what you call it, like the little rump part. Those tabs were very not resilient plastic and those melted because I let them make contact with the heat press. So this is cool because this raises the area above here, so you're not gonna really get too much pressure on the buttons and you're not really gonna get too much pressure on the collar. So the T-pads, again, they're gonna raise that area. Now what the pillows do, and for a pillow, I guess you could do it the same way. A pressing pillow is gonna go in and you could position it to where it only presses on the area if you want. It'll give a very similar function as a T-pad but what I use it for more frequently, and this one, I'm just gonna put it under, so you can see here, I'm just gonna put it below. What the pressing pillows are really great for is, if I were to press this in, what happens is the thick portions, they sink into the pillow, allowing this area next to it to still get good contact with the heat press. So the T-pads raise the area so that way you're not pressing this. And the pressing pillows allow these raised areas to sink in so you can still get this. So everything's gonna get pressed with the pillow, except these parts are gonna kind of sink in and allow this part next to it to get proper contact. Now for polo shirts, depending on the material, for polo shirts, probably gonna use a T-padded. So for our demonstration today, we're going to press this polo shirt with a T-padded. And then I have another project that we're gonna do today. It's gonna make real good use of our pressing pillows. So I could use a pillow or a T-pad. Usually, most of the time, like 90% of the time, these products are interchangeable. You may only need one or the other. You could use one or the other. Occasionally, there are some things that you'll need one specifically. So really quick, before I press this, check in on your guys' questions. Okay, oh, someone's saying that the video quality is a little choppy. I'm not sure if we can fix that. That might just be internet issues, which is unfortunately, one of the problems with COVID-19 is everybody's at home and the video is lagging. But yeah, I see that and I apologize, guys. It might just be our internet quality here, but it looks like we don't have any questions just yet, or maybe they're not loading on my screen. So I'm gonna get right back to it. Okay, so we have the T-padded, we have it inserted in our shirt, and it's raising this area so that way I'm not gonna press any of this. So it's raising this area above the buttons, it's raising it above the collar. Now these might get a little contact with the press, but most of the press is, most of the, the pressure and heat is gonna be focused on this area where we have our T-padded. Really quick, I'm gonna take this off because I need to adjust for pressure. This is one thing that you're gonna have to do whether you're pressing with a T-pad or a pressing pillow. You're gonna need to readjust for pressure. So even though I've already set the pressure on my heat press to work for a regular item, because I'm inserting something a little bit thicker, this area, it might be too tight. So I'm likely gonna have to loosen my pressure. And since I don't want to scorch anything, there we go, I've got one. I've been using parchment paper for a lot of these because I lost my cover sheet, my non-stick sheet. So anyway, so I'm just gonna lower it. That's way too tight. And it might take you guys, especially if you're new, it might take you a little bit longer to adjust for pressure. I know I've been doing this quite some time. So just by feel, I'm pretty solid on where it should be. But if necessary, please feel free to use the paper pressure test. And you can find the paper pressure test at heat.press/paper test. Or you can just go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/HeatPressNation. Look up the paper pressure test, and that'll get you what you need to know. But again, you're talking to a pro here, so I'm pretty solid just by feeling it out, how much pressure I need. Okay, so that did two things. It pre-pressed my area, and then it also, we adjusted for proper pressure. So now, I'm gonna place my transfer, and it's upside down, so I'm just kind of hoping everything is nice and straight and placed properly. Again, I'm showing you more how to use the T-pads. Please don't get on my case for not using like an alignment tool or anything like that. We're showing you really how to use the T-pads, but of course, if you're doing this project for one of your clients, you are gonna wanna make sure it's aligned properly. Using either, for this, probably use a logo grid it tool, but you can also use a T-squirt as well. So anyway, so that's there. Looks good to me. Gonna place this on. We got 12 seconds on the clock. We're at 305 degrees Fahrenheit because we are using my favorite, Caesar Easy Weed. Gonna press it, and then this is an auto open heat press, so it is gonna just pop open as soon as it's ready. It's a little warm in here because I'm standing next to a heat press. Right there, you see that? Just like magic. Gonna slide it out. And then look at that, perfectly. There's no lifting, there's no anything. This transfer came out beautiful. Now this is something that you're probably not gonna see on camera, but I could see up close, is I could see like the imprint of the shirt, I guess the weave, the threading, however you'd say it. If you could see that, that's how you know you got good pressure, and I got good pressure right here. So let me pull out. And then you can see, These parts did get a little bit of contact with the heat press, but it wasn't anything major. Really, they were just kind of sitting under the heat. This area where our T-padded is got all the pressure. Pull this out, don't forget to pull that out. And now I can show you guys my SS Minnow, the Skipper, a crew t-shirt. And again, if you get that reference, congrats on being old. All right, check that out. This is not too bad, not too shabby. It's looking pretty good. This polo, there we go. And that's how you use a T-pad or a pressing pad. They're called T-pads, and these are pressing pads. Now you're saying, okay, so can I just use a T-pad for everything? You could use it for like I said, most things. I'm gonna show you here where I really think the pressing pillows really shine. Or you might say, oh, I have pressing pillows. Do I need a T-pad? I have both because I can, because I work here and I get an employee discount. In your shop, if you're a production shop and you have a lot of stuff going on, and you're the kind of person who always wants to be prepared, I would probably recommend getting both. Sometimes the pressing pillows, again, 90% of the time you could use either, but every now and then you'll run into a project where you're gonna need one specifically. So I'm gonna show you guys where the pressing pillows really shine. And this is my favorite. This is a zip hoodie, all right? So when heat pressing a zip hoodie, and I'm just gonna load it onto my heat press right here. I have a cool graphic for this. Actually, it's actually the same graphic, I just split it. Okay, sometimes, really quick, sometimes these zippers are plastic. You always want to be careful to not press your plastic zippers or to do a test. Some of them hold up, some of them don't. So what we could do, and let me pull up my graphic. So here we have the same graphic, it's just split in half, so that way I could put one half on one side and then one half on the other side. And so what I'm gonna do here is just cut this as close as I possibly can. And by the way, that's a tip. If you are pressing, you want to cut as close as you can to the graphic. Is that as close as I can? Let's see. There we go. So here we have our graphic. Now I could do two things. There's a couple ways to tackle this. We do have a larger, and the T-pads come in different sizes. I could do a couple things. If I had two of these, or if I wanted to, okay, here's what I love about the T-pad. Here's a gigantic one, right? They're relatively cheap. It's like 25 bucks for the set. So if you find that you're not really using this big one too much, you could cut it in half, or cut it to a custom size, a custom insert. I know for baby onesies, those are particularly tough to press because of all the folds and seams. So what some people do is they'll just make like a template. They'll just cut the large one, or they'll cut whichever one fits to custom fit their baby onesie, and boom, you have just this custom pad that's gonna work every time. Now, if I would need two T-pads, or I would just have to press it twice. And I would line this up, right? So that way the zipper's hanging off. And then, as you just saw with the polo. But what I like about this is, ta-da, I'm gonna bring out the big one, or do I need the big one? Oh, I guess it's all gonna fit on the medium. No, just to be safe, I'm gonna put the big one in. So we have our big one, right? Gonna put it inside the sweater. Gonna zip this up. Now here's what's cool about having a big T-pad. You'll notice there's a couple things that are still on the pressing area, right? This thick zipper runs right up the middle. And then also the little kangaroo pouch down here is still on the heat press area. And then I got the zipper like kind of on here. It's hanging off the edge. I don't like pressing the little zipper because it gets hot and you touch it and it burns. So I'm gonna put this on here. Now what's cool about this is I could do both sides at once. I just put the pillow in, line these up, and boom. Because we're using the pillow, this center seam is gonna sink in and the areas next to it are gonna get proper pressure. Again, and then this part right here, the kangaroo pouch, that's just gonna sink into the pillow, and we're still gonna be able to press this nice area next to it. Here's a heads up, and I do want to show you guys. So be careful when you're pressing near, so sometimes the zipper is kind of shielded by this thick seam right here. You don't really want to press that part because there's a little canyon, and I think this is just like a pro tip, guys. There's a little canyon right here between this thick lip and the rest. It's very hard to get vinyl in that canyon. So just a heads up, what some people might try to do is press over here and press onto the lip. I don't press the lip anymore because that canyon, it's hard to get the vinyl in there. And then it's just like a peeling. It just starts to peel. So what I will do is I will get this transfer as close as possible to that canyon without actually getting in there. And then I'm going to line this up as best I can. Now, if you were screen printing, this might work a little bit better, but since we're doing heat pressing, I don't know. Now, here's a situation out here, and you can see it's kind of split, but that's okay. I probably could get a little closer, but for the sake of this demo, I'm just gonna put it where I know it'll for sure work, because I've been having some mess ups lately, and I've been looking kind of dumb. So I'm just gonna go for it. Okay. One thing, and you know what I did not consider is adjusting for pressure. So my bad, really quick. See, I did mess up. Oh well. I'm gonna slide this back in. Now, when you're working with a pressing pillow, they are going to compress a little bit, but you don't want to smash them all the way. In fact, when you're gauging pressure for the pillow should only shrink down to about maybe 60-70% of where it's at, because since it's like foam, there's going to be some resistance. It's actually going to kind of push back up on your vinyl, getting you proper pressure on your transfer. So let's see. Oh yeah. Usually what I've noticed for most heat presses is you have to loosen it like a lot. These pillows are much thicker. These pillows are much thicker than the T-paddets. So let's just, real quick, let's try this again. Still a little too much pressure. For a lot of heat presses, I've noticed I've had to go back all the way. Now, some heat presses may not have enough clearance to allow you to use your pillow. So what you do in that case, pro tip for you guys, is you could just take off the rubber pad, because this is pretty thick, put a t-shirt down on here, or just wrap it with something so you don't like mess up your t-shirt. But if you don't have enough clearance for a pressing pillow, you can remove the lower pad, and that'll give you enough clearance to use your pressing pillow if necessary. Same goes if you got to use some heat felt. I know we just did a video on using heat felt for ornaments. Holidays are coming up. But I don't think I need to remove my lower pad. Let's see. Perfect. Okay. So I loosened my pressure like literally all the way, and it's just perfect enough to press what I'm about to press. So I know we're going on time here. I'm going to place my transfer as close to that little canyon as possible. Should still be able to get some good pressure there. And when you hear me referring to this little canyon that I showed you just a couple seconds ago, that's specific to this style of hoodie. You see how it has this lip that completely closes. For screen printers, that's cool because they can still get ink on there. But for vinyl, it's just a little bit harder to cover this gap. Not all hoodies have this. Some hoodies, they have that exposed zipper, so you can only go up to the edge. So I'm just putting this transfer right to where I think it's gonna look good. Gonna cover this here. And before I heat press, let's just check in on some questions. Carrie Blanton is saying, I have a pillow, but after pressing it so many times, it gets flat. Do you sell one that will not get flat? You know what? I mean, these are great quality. However, if your pillow is getting flat, it's probably because you're pressing it with a little bit too much pressure. Again, the pillow should only be compressing maybe like 60-70%. If your pillow is getting half as thin when you press it, probably just a little bit too much pressure on there. Pamela Howard's asking, do I have a guide sheet of different temperatures for different materials? Yes, we do. You can go to https://heat, and I'm sorry, heat.press/. sheet. I'm commenting that to you, Pamela Howard. You see that right there? Heat.press/sheet. That's our cheat sheet. We actually do have a cheat sheet with some of the most common time and temperature settings for lots of different products. We've got a lot of the Caesar products, specialty materials. We've got a good handful of sublimation blanks on there. Our most popular heat transfer papers. So if you kind of want just like a quick reference guide, it's right there for you. Great question. On a face mask, would I use a pad or a pillow? Oh, that's a great question. On a face mask, I would put the big pillow down and whatever pillow is gonna, and I don't have a spare face mask here. Yeah, I don't have one here. But what you would do is you just put the face mask on the pillow, cover the pillow with a piece of parchment paper, because face masks, they do get a little bit messy with those sublimation prints. But I would definitely use a pillow for a face mask. Great question. Okay. Oh, that's funny. PL Marina was asking the same question. Do I have a cheat sheet? Yes, just shared it. So go ahead and check the comments here. I just shared that heat.press/sheet. And I'm gonna that's Facebook. I'm gonna hop over to YouTube really quick, see if we have any new questions here. This is a good question. When it comes to speedy production, the pressing pillow is definitely the better choice regardless of the size or placement or transfer. That's true because these are coated, or not coated, these are wrapped with it's actually the same material as our non-stick sheet, and it's kind of slip and slidey. So if you want to just boom, boom, slide stuff in and out, way faster. These have a kind of grippy, rubbery silicone type material, so they're a little more friction there, and it's not as quick on the insert. So that's true, the pillows are going to be a little faster. Good point. Karkin Studio says they stopped using the heat pad 8 out of 10 times. It will leave impressions on the garment. You know, that's a good point. When you're working with polyester fabrics, polyester materials, polyester is more prone to scorching, and that was going to be my last point. So actually, you know what? I'm going to explain that in just a minute. Let's heat press that because that is a great, great question. Give me just a second to heat press this, and then I'm going to make my last point on when you would use a pillow versus a T-pad. So as you can see here, I got my transfer set, and then this center part is going to sink into our pillow, allowing the areas next to it to get heat pressed properly. We got 12 seconds on the clock, 305 degrees for our Caesar Easy Weed. And boom. I put 12 seconds because Caesar recommends 10 to 15, and I'm like, cool, 12 is like right there. And this is auto open, so the magic right there. I'm gonna slide this out. And looking good. So I'm gonna hot peel this. There we go. Boom. Just like that. We got a good press, and I'm gonna get really close and look, because if we see an indentation of the heat press marks, then it's looking pretty good. It looks like this vinyl is sitting on top, and that's why it's good to get a good, I guess, a second look. Never hurts to repress something with just a hair more pressure. So even though it peeled good, I don't see it like pressed into the fabric as much as I would like to. So while it's like 85% gonna work, when in doubt, just give it another one. Doesn't hurt. You're not really gonna get into problems over pressing unless you're going like super high pressure. And I remember reading in some of the forums, people were like, oh yeah, I pressed my Easy Weed for 30 seconds, peel it, repress for another 30. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. And I think Joe, great dude from Caesar, there we go, that's looking a heck of a lot better. Joe from Caesar actually did a video on the dangers of overpressing. But when in doubt, feel free to give it a repress. Not gonna hurt it too much if it's, you know, as long as you're, I guess, being moderate with it. So check, it's a little warm. So check this out. I was able to press this cool sweater, this cool hoodie, split graphic in one, and I know it took a long time. It's kind of because I'm explaining my process, but really, you load the sweater, slide in the pillow, align, boom, boom, boom. It's someone mentioned it's a lot faster, and it truly is. So that's why I like the pillows, zip hoodies especially. Now we just had a question about the T-pad it's leaving, and I'm gonna clean this up a little bit because messy desks are no fun. There we go. Somebody just had a question about, or made a comment about the tee pads leaving an imprint area. And yes, that is very true. Whenever you're working with polyester or synthetic fabrics, these items are going to be a lot more prone to leaving press marks. And that's because polyester, it scorches at a way lower temperature than cotton. Cotton is very resilient. It's one of the reasons why when I'm heat pressing, I use exclusively 100% cotton shirts. If you buy even the pre-shrunk ones will shrink just a little bit. But there's a couple really good pre-shrunk options out there that I recommend. The Bell Canvas 3001 is decent. I actually really like the Gildan Soft Style 64000. It's not an official HeatPressNation endorsement, guys. I'm just telling you exactly what I think. I'm wearing a Gildan Soft Style 64000. This is a personal recommendation. HeatPressNation does not endorse any clothing companies, so just do your homework on that. But where was I going with that? Yeah. So when you're pressing polyester materials, wherever the heat press touches is gonna possibly scorch a little bit. So most of your heathers, if you're working with heather t-shirts, not all polyester is created equal. So there are going to be some products out there that are going to scorch a little bit worse than others. For that, I recommend just find a shirt shop, try a couple of different brands, heat press them all with the same graphic, and see which one's going to work best for you. Or maybe ask in the group, our HeatPressNation creators group. You could find it at heat.press/FB group. I think it's going to be on the screen in a second. You can see it there. There we go. And yeah, you could ask in the group, see what poly blends are not as bad with the scorching. So here's why I like the pillows. When you're working with a pressing pad, right? The shirt's gonna go over the pad, and there's a very defined edge on the pressing pad. Now, when you're pressing 100% cotton shirts, you might see an imprint area, but that's just the moisture that's left the shirt. So it's just this little section. Because this got pressed, it's a little bit drier than the rest of the shirt. Give the shirt a couple of hours, let the natural humidity from the air kind of get back, reabsorbed into the shirt. You're not gonna see anything. It's not permanent at all. Otherwise, all my cotton shirts, they'd have all these. Now, when you're working with polyester shirts, if the material scorches, it scorches. And it's gonna scorch in this exact imprint area with a very hard defined edge. What's cool about the pillows, you place your t-shirt over the pillow, and this pillow doesn't have a hard defined edge. It has a soft kind of tapered off edge. So while it's very possible that the t-shirt might still scorch a little bit on this area, the edges are gonna kind of taper off, so it won't be as obvious on some products. That's why we say the pressing pillows, they don't eliminate press marks, but they do help minimize the appearance of press marks. Again, not all polyester is created equal, so there are gonna be some brand and styles of t-shirts that are gonna hold up to your heat press a lot better than others. And that's why it's important to do testing. That's also why I never let any of my customers supply me with t-shirts. Two reasons. One, I mark up the shirts a little bit, make a little bit of money there. And then also two, I used to, when I was first starting out with my side business, making t-shirts for people, I used to let them supply me with shirts, and I would get some crazy, people just go to Walmart, find the cheapest shirt, which is usually gonna be like 50/50s or 65, whatever the other balance is there, 65/35. And not only would they be poly blends, but they'd be just cheap quality t-shirts. Again, there are some manufacturers who make heather tees that are designed to be screen printed and heat pressed. So they're gonna hold up a lot better to the heat than these cheap random shirts that people are getting from Walmart, Target, Dollar Tree, whatever. So you don't wanna be using cheap quality shirts. You do wanna find a good shirt that's gonna hold up to a good heat press. All right. And that's my rant for today. Let's go back to the questions here. That's a good point. So chest work is saying, why would you put it inside the hoodie instead of just underneath it when it serves the same purpose and requires less adjustment and having to unzip and zip things back up? That is a great point. It's just a habit for me. I put it in just because, I don't know, it feels better. I have no idea why. That's just how I do it. But he made a good point. He's saying, why not just put the pad on the lower one, and then, especially if you're doing a run of t-shirts, you would just, boom, load it, press it, take it off, load it, press it, take it off. It's a lot faster to just leave it on the bottom, and that is very true. So if you're asking why I did it the other way, it's just a habit. You know, heat pressers, we get our habits and we just kind of stick to them, even though we're not really, even when we're not really paying attention, we stick to the habits. So good question. What do I recommend for ceramic tiles and tempered glass? Krista, you know what? I'm gonna break the wall here. Alex, do we have the heat felt video up yet? Not yet. It'll be about a week or two or more. Or? Yeah, a couple weeks. Okay, so we have a video that our awesome team. By the way, behind the camera, Alex, guys, give him a thumbs up or a heart or something. Alex, he's hooking it up. He is the reason why I'm able to be here on set. This is only my second week back on set, and it feels great. This whole quarantine, I was doing, you know, the lives from home. We appreciate everybody for tuning in with us. But doggone, it feels good to be back on set, and I just want to thank my buddy Alex here for running all the things. So you know how I used to, or for those of you guys who were watching, I was always having audio problems. No more audio problems because now I have a pro helping me out. So really quick, great question. This is the Geonite Heat Felt. Now you can use a pressing pillow if you like, but we really recommend the Heat Felt for doing, someone just asked about ceramics and tempered glass. This is really the way you want to go. And the reason is these are meant for like quick hits and not a lot of pressure. You are going to need just a little bit more pressure on your ceramics and your glass. Not too much because you don't want them to crack, but also these aren't meant to be pressed for extremely long periods of time. When you're working with ceramics, you're pressing things for about 4 to 6 minutes or more. That's where this is the Geonite Nomex Heat Felt. I believe this is the stuff that the firefighters have in their protective gear. Anyways, this is what we recommend. We got a video coming out on it pretty soon, next couple of weeks or so. Editing team is working on it, but it is available on our website. So just look up felt. You could just type in or Nomex, N-O-M-E-X. You could type that, and that's what I would recommend for ceramics or tempered glass. Great question. That's hilarious. Betty's saying she's had her pillows for a year now. They're as good as new. She even cut one open and used the cover as a Teflon sheet. No, just save some money and just order a sheet. That's really funny. Yusuf's asking, best tea for business, Cotton Heritage or Bella, hands down or neither? You know what? It depends because, and it's not only going to depend on you and what you prefer. Sorry, it's a little warm in here. This heat press is hot. It's not just what you prefer, it's what your customers prefer. So depending on your climate, some customers are not going to want to wear polyester. If you're from a colder area, they might want that because, you know, it helps insulate a little bit better than cotton. It really depends on, it's a combination of what's going to work for you and your heat press and your equipment and what's going to work for your customers. So I'm here in Southern California. Everybody here is cool with 100% cotton because it's breathable. It's usually warm most of the year, and that's just, my customers like it. I like to work with it, but you might find it might be different where you're at. So good question. Okay, so those are our YouTube questions. Let me see what we got on our Facebook. Any new questions here? Cool. Everybody's tuning in. Great to see everybody today. Thank you guys so much for joining. Well, if there's not any new questions, I think it's gonna wrap it up. So today we got to see, just kind of a recap, we got to see the difference between pressing pillows, pressing pads, what they do, what the difference is, and when to use them. If you guys, maybe you're watching a replay and you still have questions about what's gonna work best for you, please feel free to reach out to us in our Facebook group or online. And just so you can see here, for the T-pad today, just kind of a recap, we made this really cool polo. And this is a this is 65% polyester. Normally if I was heat pressing, this is just an extra polo I had on hand, by the way. I'm always testing stuff. What I would do is I would probably wash test this particular polo, see if this T-pad left it. I see the imprint area here, but it could just be because that part's dried out. So what I would do is I would actually test it. I would wash test it. If it comes out, if it still has the imprint area, maybe try a different brand polo. Maybe try, or maybe next time try a pillow. See what works best. But we did the polo with that. 100% cotton. Again, not gonna be an issue at all. And I launched that sweater. Oh, there it is. And then again, for the T-pads, we got showed off. My favorite thing, the whole reason why I even have T-pads is really, it's just so much easier to press zip hoodies. When you got to press along the chest, even other hoodies, it's just a lot easier. And I really like them. So from me to you guys, thank you so much for joining. Real quick before you tune out, if you're watching on YouTube, do me a favor, and you hear this from every last YouTube video you've ever seen, but it really does. It really does help. Like and subscribe. And if you're on Facebook, do me a favor, like. Or you can even share this post if you have other Heat Pressers who follow you, but like this post, and then also like our page, HeatPressNation. We really appreciate it. Don't forget to join our Facebook group, HPN Creators Group. It's heat.press/FB group. You can just type that in to your browser, and then it'll take you straight over to our Facebook group. That's going to do it for me, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been an absolute pleasure. This Friday, we do have a webinar coming up. Details will be released, I believe, tomorrow. So you can register as early as tomorrow or later this afternoon. I think so. That's more of a training webinar. This is kind of a show-offy type of thing. But if you're looking to pick up a very specific skill, we do go a little bit more in depth. We have software tutorials. So if you're using SignMaster or Silhouette Studio, we have training tutorials on those. We have tutorials on Sawgrass, how to sublimate. So we have great projects in our training webinars as well. Details should be available, I believe, tomorrow morning. Anyways, that's going to do it for me. Thank you guys so much for joining us for another week's episode of Heat Press Nation Live. Once again, my name is Jared, and it's been my absolute pleasure to join you today. We'll see you around.